Hello, gorgeous Pisces, and welcome to December 2019. This is the end of, I think, a really epic and powerful year, and the end of quite a dynamic and powerful decade. I'm not a huge fan of thinking about time in terms of like comparison of different points in our lives, but it is a great time of reflection. And also, big expansion opening up. There's a lot of forward motion in the sky in December, and there's a lot of open doors, clearing space, moving into the next phase energy working with us here as well. Kind of really not looking back as much as looking forward. Mercury is going to get out of post-shadow phase. Jupiter is going to move into Capricorn. We're going to have a full moon in Gemini. We're going to have a new moon and a solar eclipse in Capricorn. We are going to have the solstice, the winter solstice, and the new year, all and a move from Sagittarius into Capricorn season. So all of this energy is really working to calibrate us and have us focus on where we're going next and how we want to build that and how we want to grow from the root system up and make choices and really commit in. And actually, that's a big part of the message that was coming up for the Piscean clan. It took me a while to put my finger on the dial of what it is that's coming up for Pisces. I was like, what is going on with them? Because I can't quite formulate it. It's like I can't tap into it. And the reason I realize is because there's this feeling of indecisiveness. There's this feeling of not wanting to look at something or make a choice or commit the energy somewhere. And there being kind of a desire to avoid it, to avoid thinking about it, looking at it. And so the note that came up in the context of all of this energy is, where do you want to invest your energy? Where is it that you've been avoiding investing your energy, or where you've been feeling? A card just flew way across the room. Let me grab it. It is the Five of Cups. Where is it that you're still looking at those spilled cups? Where is it that you're still looking over your shoulder? And you know, the Five of Cups is a doorway energy. It's the invitation to, yes, grieve, yes, release, yes, acknowledge what's been lost, what's changed. And it's also the doorway in between that part of your process, Two of Swords, and the point when you pick up those other two cups. And that Two of Swords there is also a doorway energy, right? It's holding still and listening in. Justice. I like that, the Two of Swords into Justice. You can kind of see the transmutation of the weapon from one of being forced to sit and listen to the moon, the shadow, the hidden, the secret, the water, the intuitive, and not into the intellectual, and then being able to apply it in a rational way, in a decisive way, in a clear way. And that's the thing, that's the process with this month for you. Being a mutable sign, you have a lot of fellow mutable energy lit up the first half of the month. We're in Sagittarius season most of December, which is your 10th house of who you want to be in the world, your reputation, what you want to build, King of Pentacles. And then we have that full moon in Gemini on the 12th, which is also the same day Chiron is going direct, Six of Cups. You all are quite familiar with Chiron. Chiron was with you for many, many years, up until very recently when it moved into Aries. Chiron direct is helping us to move forward. Two cards wanted to come out there, Empress and King of Wands. Let's pull one more. And then, so you have that full moon in Gemini. You have the sun in Sagittarius, and that Gemini full moon is very much your fourth house, your intuitive, your gut instinct. When you go into your fourth house, you are with Mother Moon, you are with the mother archetype. And so that full moon is going to be, for you, particularly asking you to listen to what it is that needs to be invested in and what needs to be released. And there being King of Cups. Man, you got 3 kings in this reading. And I think that says a lot about the range of choices and feelings and emotions that are coming up, because Each of those kings has a different modality, a different quality. But the one thing I will say about king energy is it's this established energy, right? Kings are the fully realized masculine in tarot, and that means that they've invested their energy. They've sat and taken the time. They've fully developed into something, and they've stuck to their vision. They've stuck to their guns. And there being a fully flowering feeling going on there. It's also speaking to the amount of pathways open to you. It's so interesting. We think that when we narrow down our scope and we make some really clear decisions and we move on them, that somehow that's going to limit what's going to happen next. We're going to lose our ability to be free form and free flowing. And, Jupiter, you're very connected to Jupiter. Jupiter moving into Capricorn on December 2nd is a very big shift in the way you're doing things. And there's kind of this feeling of committing energy. And it may feel a little bit like, I don't want to do that. But what happens is when we choose to devote our energy in a direction, rather than being in the in-between all the time, it's like you take one step forward and then the machinations of the universe give you 5 more steps forward. And that's what is going to be urging you forward in December. So let's start with these 2 first cards, right? There may be you may feel a little ill at ease to make decisions, make choices. You may feel like you can't really see how you're supposed to move. These cards are quite mysterious and a little foggy in the way that they deliver information. They definitely take away your ability to move through the world in practical ways and force you to sit with what's uncomfortable. And if you are grieving something, looking back and kind of clearing some space, that's fine. We are heading into eclipse season at the end of this month, and we're kind of opening that up. You start to feel the eclipse season begin a few weeks before the first eclipse even happens. That sense of closing out and opening up, that sense of blotting out what no longer serves and walking through a doorway. So that lead up right before is a great time to check in with anything that you are feeling indecisive about, you are feeling maybe a little sad about, or maybe a little torn about. If you have something lurking like that, let yourself, this moon here is really important in the background of the 2 of Swords, because like I said, that's telling you, don't rely just on your rational mind. Rely on that emotive quality that you have, being a water sign, you intuitively have this information. A lot of you have trained yourselves into being analytical in order to conform and to work through culture as we know it today. But this is all urging you to listen in to what isn't serving and what you want to choose next. Because here's the thing, that Justice card is choice. It is answers. It is clarity. It is going forward on a path, right? Justice is very clear in that. This, uses that sword to cut into a decisive territory, to give you the news or the information you need in order to make investments, and we're quite literally talking about even just how you think about things. When you're living in an apartment or in a house and you keep thinking like maybe you'll just move one day, or maybe you don't want to invest in that house. So like mentally you go home, and it's a nice house, it's fine, but you never really finish that corner of the room, or you never really bring in like the candles and the dishes that would make you feel like you're really at home. And so you're always kind of 1 foot out the door, and then you're always feeling a little bit ill at ease. It's like that's a form of non-commitment, right? That does actually trickle subconsciously through the rest of your life. So that Justice card is much more like choose and be clear and decisive, because the Justice card here with King of Pentacles, Justice to me is also about commitment. It's about focus, drive, commitment, clarity. And it's here with the King of Pentacles, which, yes, some of you maybe have an earth sign hanging around. That's very possible. However, the thing I want you to focus on with King of Pentacles is investments. He's the king of investments. He's the guy who did decide and commit early on to what he really wanted to grow and build, and now is sitting with the rewards of all of that patience and that slowness and that focus and that drive. And so one of the things to keep in mind this December, not to like put too fine a point on it or to make you feel stressed out, but is that this is a month of the things that you listen in for with that intuitive guidance system, and then make those steps and invest energetically, mentally into them will reap really beautiful rewards. So the more you're listening in, the more you are allowing that decisive voice to come up and give you that wisdom, the better. I mean, I do see Pisces. I do see there's a complexity going on emotionally with this whole pulling back from decision, pulling back from committing, because, you know, we started with the Five of Cups, but then we move into the Six of Cups, which is also very dense territory. I think in some ways the Five of Cups is simpler. The Six of Cups is about healing. It's about coming to peace with the past as well. Yes, it can be very sweet and romantic. It can be very nostalgic and warm and fuzzy, and, you know, this the sweetness and the innocence of childhood, right? These are children exchanging flowers. But it's also this whole, the good old days kind of thing. You know, you look at this village, it's like a medieval village. Oh, it was so good in those days, right? Well, this old village, there was a lot of challenges that you kind of forget about, right? So the Six of Cups is also a challenge to you to kind of look at, you know, what are you idealizing? What are you still kind of holding yourself prisoner to when the door is wide open for you to move forward? Check in. It's okay to like love something from the past and honor it and speak gratitude to it and really love it. But it's another thing to hold yourself prisoner and stop yourself from making this clear decision, moving forward in life because you think that maybe this will loop around. That waiting game, it's like you can't selectively shut down your energy and your receptivity, right? It all stops. So if you are still holding on to something that you want to loop around in a specific way that your conscious mind is trying to have loop around, you're closing yourself off from all the receptivity when it comes to everything else in your life. So it's one aspect of your life, whether that be love or career, and you're wondering why the rest of your life isn't moving either, and you're kind of stuck in this moment. It's partially because you've closed down from the universal machine to help you along, because it's got a different way of delivering the information you need. And that's the other thing with all the shifts and the way that the energy is moving this month. It's going to want to deliver you results, but it's definitely not going to be in the way that you pre-planned and pre-wrote in your book. However, even though that's the case, even though to some extent we have to just open our hearts and roll with life and see what comes in and be open to that, we have to help that process along by also choosing, like really consciously choosing to be open and really consciously choosing to put our energy moving forward and choose those things. Now, there are key elements here with this because the Empress is here as well. And she's a really important reminder, I think, for the Piscean clan that, you know, this is embodiment and being in the physical. This is Venus in the physical, right? So she's all about harvest. It's a really interesting card to get for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere when we are in the beginning of winter and the solstice, and we aren't in harvest time, and we aren't in that leafy golden spring of plants and animals coming out, right? That's like much more the Empress vibe, but the Empress is all about what feels good, what feels ooey gooey, what feels nurturing, what feels powerful, not what was gone and is a shadow and is a ghost and is a little chilly, you know, and feels a little chilly and kind of sends a chill through your bones. The Empress is what feels good right now, what feels good in this moment. And really getting back to, honestly, the micro level. So I talk about the macro and the micro, and the middle management is where we get ourselves all confused and all stressed and worried, right? So the micro is the tiny details in the day you are in right now. That cup of tea, the way the leaves are falling off the tree, the way the air smells, talking to that friend, reading that book. The macro, of course, is zooming out and letting yourself fantasize. And the Empress does both of these, but she is telling me as well that whatever you're choosing has to have elements of this. This is where you're getting pulled and magnetized to, Pisces, and you aren't going to be able to escape the pull and the magnetization of the Empress, because she's trying to get you out of this Five of Cups, Six of Cups headspace that maybe has been feeling like it's been holding you captive during that Mercury retrograde and the post shadow and all of the things that brought up, all the emotion that brought up. It's time for a shift and change in flavor. Now you have these two kings at the end. Yes, very intriguing, Pisces. All this king energy. I think there's a lot going on with you with masculine energy, clearly, and established, powerful, focused masculine energy. Now, the kings are about self-actualization, sovereignty, clarity of vision, and choosing your path, forging it forward, and not having shame about it at all. A King of Wands especially is very visionary. It kind of sees 20 miles down the road and is very focused and locked in on that vision, on that bigger vision. And the King of Cups, similarly, also has that vision, but on the energetic level. So the marriage of the fire and the water is actually really potent here, because it's the marriage of how we emotionally connect with what we want to experience next, and then the visionary of having the faith and the focus to just keep choosing to showing up to that feeling every day. And that's a form of commitment that's very subtle, but extremely revolutionary and powerful. We don't give it enough credit to just commit to feeling good, just to commit to saying, I'm right where I need to be, and doing that every single day with clarity, with intention, will set you moving forward in ways that you've never saw coming. And that's the thing. If you have control, if you're trying to control, if you're trying to hold yourself back, if you're trying to resist what you know needs to change this month, it will be brought up to the surface. You will feel it. You will notice that there are little reminders all around you trying to get you to focus in on where this energy is taking you next. And to commit to opening yourself up to this next phase. And to keep committing to doing that. Because Pisces, you are very open, you are very sensitive, but because of that, a lot of you have gone through phases in life where you shut down. You close yourself off from the possibilities that come with believing and fully putting all your energy into it. So you have sometimes these little reminders that come back in to say, hey, remember, it's very good for you to show fully up to this. It's very good for you to show up to this big vision and let yourself have it. Sagittarius and Capricorn season as we transit through those signs during this month are very much for you about the bold vision of who you are in your community and who you are within your friendships. And as we get deeper into the Capricorn season and we have that solar eclipse, the new moon solar eclipse on the 26th that's happening, you're really re-envisioning how the ooey gooey goodness of life when we're taking action, when we're active parts of our career and what we give to the world, and also our community and our friendships, and how amazing that can be when we decide that we're allowed to have it and really show up to it and aren't holding ourselves back through other timelines and other places and other spaces, right? So there's a big invitation for you to kind of reawaken some parts of yourself that maybe went to sleep for a couple of months as we've been going through some of the more challenging transits that were happening in the fall or the spring if you're in the southern hemisphere. Now I have some affirmations for my Pisces people to take with you during this month of opening, this month of gateway, this month of transformation, and here they are. I utilize my curiosity to find the answers I am seeking. I allow myself to invest energy in what is thriving in my life. I pay attention to the breadcrumb trail leading me forward into the next adventure. I keep getting the sense that it's very important for you all to pay attention to the details, pay attention to the moment this month. It's not so much about the macro lens. It's about really showing up here now. What is showing up? What is working? What is not? What is painful? Where are you imprisoning yourself when the door is wide open? You can get on that train and move and commit to this next chapter. I hope you all have a beautiful December. If you're interested in learning more about the new year and the transits that will be coming up, I'm adding a whole bunch of stuff on my Patreon. I already have the Jupiter and Capricorn video up for that transit, which will be most of 2020 and begins this December. So if you're interested in learning more about how Jupiter and Capricorn feels different, will affect us all, you can join me over there. Thank you so much to those of you who have already joined me. You can, of course, find me on Instagram at SarahVerba and on my webpage, SARAHTAROT.com. If you're interested in working with me one-on-one, I'm going to have a very select number of sessions available the first half of 2020. I will be opening those sessions up relatively soon. If you are interested in being on the notification list so you know when my calendar opens up, you can email me and I will get you all set up so that you will know, and you will know when those sessions are, and you can choose one that you want. I would love to work with you so much, and I hope you have a beautiful solstice eclipse season and into the new year, and I will see you for more Moon Magics. We're of course going to talk about this big eclipse coming up, you know it. And of course you can find PinkLune's gorgeous jewelry on her Etsy shop, link in the description box as well. She's still giving you 15% off because she's an angel here on earth. And I will see you all also for the new year and for lots of exciting adventures ahead. Have a magical month, my beauties.